What's up, guys? So today we're going to give a training guide for these three players here, and we're also going to talk about the leaks for what players are supposed to come on Monday. So I think it's fair to say that Zico is the best player in the pack, and I have two builds you can go for. Obviously we have free reset, so you can try both and then decide which one is best. So the build is as such here, and then with the 6 extra points you have, you can put 2 into shooting to get the 90 finishing and the 95 curl. And then if you don't want to do that instead, you can go into the kicking power, and then you'll get to plus 90 on the speed, because you're going to get to 85 for that plus 3 with your manager. So you can see here, I have an older version of Zico, and a lot of people ask me, is this guy good or not? The way I'd say or describe Zico is sometimes he's the best player in the game, and sometimes he goes invisible. So there will be many games where he just doesn't really do much, and you're going to sub him off pretty quickly. You're going to notice this game, it just doesn't suit him, but then certain matches you'll play him and he's doing everything for you, passing, shooting, dribbling, everything. So he's kind of like a mercurial player in that sense, so he can win you games, but you can also go invisible. So if you're going to use him, I would try make sure you have another option on the bench that you can sub him off, or if for whatever reason, whatever way the tactics are set up, this guy just doesn't work in that match. Where would I play him? I would think he's best at second striker. He's two-footed, so we're gonna go into the skills in a moment, and I'll explain why that's very useful for him. But he's two-footed, and he's on this build not got the highest finishing on the build for the new one, though he does. But even with this lower finishing, he's still quite good because he's got the kick and power and the curl. But obviously with the build I recommend, he has that kick and power and better curl, and then obviously better finishing as well. So for the skills I'd recommend on Zico, if we just take a look at the skills he has first, he's got very good skills. He's got his acrobatic finishing, his true pass, and his one-time pass, and his first time shot, and then also long range curler. So I would recommend putting soul control on to help with that long range curler. And then obviously he is needing double touch, and then if you're gonna put double touch and soul control on, you might as well put flip flap on, and it'll be especially effective on Zico just because he has the very high weak foot. You can double touch with that Neymar ball roll onto either foot very well. Interestingly, he doesn't have long range shooting, so you do need to put that on. And then for the last skill, you've got a lot of options, so I've got a short list here I'm reading from. I would recommend either weighted pass, gamesmanship, cut behind and turn, Marseille turn, or heel trick. If you're going to play him AMF, I think he's best at SS, but if you are going to play him AMF, I would probably go for weighted pass. And if you're going to play him SS, heel trick, if you're going to choose between those two. And in the middle three of gamesmanship, cut behind and turn, and Marseille turn, all three of those will work, SS or AMF. You kind of just make the choice. Do you use cut behind and turns, or do you use Marseille turns? And if you don't use either of them, go for gamesmanship. Or then, as I said, a weighted pass and heel trick, depending on which position you will play him. Next player is Koller. Now, this guy's a bit of a meme, obviously, the 202 centimeters tall player. So I do have a build for him, although on efootball hub he is glitched at the moment, so I can't show you the build how it'll look in game, but I'll be able to kind of translate it for you. So this is the build here. Now this is before boosts, so his booster card is going to get +2 to finishing, heading, jumping, and physical contact, and also he's going to get +3 on every stat that you see here that's above 85. So it's pretty much the only stats that are above 85 are the ones in green. The 90 ones, everything else is below 85. So +3 on the finishing with the +2 on the boost. So I have 95 finishing. The theory behind this build is he's not going to be that great of a player, so you're just going to whack it up to him and hope when it falls to him he's going to have really good finishing, really good kick and power, and really good aerial ability. Even with that 80 jumping, he's 200 centimeters tall, so he should be fine. Now for the skills, again, I don't trust this guy in game, so we're going to make the skills kind of passive as possible. In that sense, I'm talking about putting fighting spirit on him. We're going to put super sub on him. I do think he would be an effective super sub. This is a re-release card. When this card first came out, I considered spinning it for the super sub. I didn't. I don't think it is necessary, but it is probably what it'd be best using him for. Then also we're going to put one touch pass, heel trick, and true pass on him. The reason we're going for one touch pass, even though I don't usually recommend it on strikers, just because 1-2 passes are already very accurate, it's just because this guy is not good enough at dribbling. Anyway, you're not going to be able to dribble with him, so you just make sure if you hit it up to him, he can probably pass it better to someone near him. And then the last player in this pack is Batistuta. So again, this is a guy that I'm not too impressed with. You can see with the build here. This is a re-release card. It was good probably when it came out, but at this point in the game, it's really not that good because his dribbling is just far too low for the level of player that releases nowadays. And same with his speed. His speed isn't as good as it probably should be. So if you look at the build, we're again similar to Koller. We're just making him as good at finishing as possible with really good kick and power and a good defensive awareness. If it hits it up to him and he can get a shot off, he'll be effective. His balance is 80, so his dribbling stats look quite low, but with that 80 balance, he should perform a little bit better than you might think he would. But overall, I don't think it is something that should kind of impress you with the build that he has. If we look at his skills, again, he's kind of similar to Zico. Actually, he's got a lot of the good skills you'd want for a striker. So all I recommend on him really is true passing, aerial superiority, heel trick, super sub slash fighting spirit, depending on if you're gonna start him, but fighting spirit if you're gonna bring him off the bench, super sub. And then I also recommend double touch on him, just because he's not a good dribbler, but I do think he is good enough to warrant double touch, whereas Koller just is nowhere close to being good enough. So I do think Batistuta is in that area where if you get him double touch, yeah, you could probably be effective with it. So overall, not a good pack. I definitely wouldn't recommend spinning for the pack. Zico is a good player, but as I said, sometimes he will go missing for you. Sometimes he will be one of the best players in the game, but you don't know what version of Zico is going to come out until the game started, so it's usually not worth the risk, and that's why I don't really use him that often. Talking about Monday's pack, is it going to be much better? I'm not sure. If we kind of look at eFootball Hub, we can see the leaks, and this is pretty much 90% confirmed who's coming. The first player is Donadoni, and Donadoni's actually a good player in this game. You can see here I've assumed 30 levels, and this would be what his card would look like before we have the booster. And he's very well rounded. He is down as a centre mid, so it gives him some defending. I do think this guy would be best though as a left mid or a right mid in a 3-5-2 or any kind of 3 at the back formation. I was using him for a while in that type of tactic. A lot of top players use him in this type of tactic. I know LB Games uses him, or I used to use him anyway for a while. Not in a 3-5-2, but very consistent player. Like, he's one of them players that he doesn't do too many things out of this world, but everything he does is, you know, pretty alright and it's a good standard. So it's kind of like a Nedved, someone you can just trust to do the basics right pretty much all the time. And this version is a whole player. The one I have is a creative playmaker, I believe. So the whole player, I think it does suit him well, and I do like the wide mids being whole players in those type of tactics. Next player is Nakata. This guy just doesn't look interesting to me. You can see here with the build, he actually does have quite a few stats above 85 though, particularly the balance and the acceleration. And I don't know if you've used Nakata before in this game, but he does kind of have a big stocky build, so that kind of mix of balance with that build should make him actually kind of be surprisingly effective, although I just don't think his finishing is going to be high enough for you to kind of rely on him a lot. And if you're going to be spending potentially €150 for him, I don't think it'd be worth your money. And then the last player in the pack could be quite good, because the rumor is that he's going to be getting a visionary pass. So if you don't know what visionary pass does, is when you play a pass, the receiver gets an improved first touch, first time shot, or first time pass themselves. So that is actually a very effective skill. I use it with Kevin De Bruyne, and it's quite fun to use. And you can see here, his card doesn't look too bad either. He's similar to Nakata, except he is definitely taller and heavier. So he's kind of similar with that stocky build, mixed with the high balance, which is something I always look out for. Hulla and Bellingham are the two examples of players that are like that. They're tall and kind of big, and then they have good balance, and they're very effective. So this guy could be very effective. We don't know his booster either. His booster, if it's dribbling, you can see here on this build, put 10 points into dribbling, you'll get 101 tight possession. And I've done a video on what dribbling looks like when you're over 100, and it makes them really effective. The defenders always kind of go in for tackles, and your player jumps over them. So this guy could be effective, although I don't think it'll be worth the money spending potentially €150 on the pack. So 2 weeks of bad packs back to back from Konami.